New Zealand, if it was colonized by Japan. And just look at that flag, kind of taking a little inspiration from the modern New Zealand flag. Only difference is that big, beautiful red dot. People of the Pacific States, come and visit the Empire's southernmost inhabitant domain. Wait a second, was this taken during World War II? Because that is looking like an old no-no Japanese flag. They have a museum of British atrocities. Former parliament building during the Dominion times. Right, because there would be no atrocities if Japan took them over either. Especially this no-no Japan. I don't even want to think how bad that would be. What would be crazier in this reality? The Japanese New Zealand itself, or the fact that we probably would not have anime? They'd be too busy trying to manage New Zealand to create any anime. What if D-Day failed? A map of what the French Republic could look like. There's a clip from the old post German stand in Normandy. Oh, I almost missed this, but this is an important factor. Just because the Germans stopped D-Day does not mean they were able to stop the Soviets. So Germany is currently the Soviet administration in Germany. Then we have what looks to be like a communist puppet state under the French People's Republic, and then the Fourth French Republic. Also, F in the chat for Belgium. That's just Flanders and Wallonia now. Also seems to be a communist Swedish state. I was gonna say, this looks really weird. Like, wouldn't the no-no Germans just, like, not change much? What's this People's Republic all about? A map if WW1 never happened. Which is hard to say what would happen if Franz Ferdinand never got oofed. It seems like the alliances would have eventually brought down Europe into chaos, but who knows? It's February 2021, and I believe there's probably a lot of monarchies still around. It looks as though the communist revolution has failed in Russia, or it just never really happened. Africa and most of the world is very much still under control of the Europeans. And remember, Germany even has some of this territory since it was never taken from them. Ethiopia got split. Italians took a big old chunk out of them. The British, for some reason, did lose some stuff in northern Africa. Egypt and Sudan. Ottomans are still gone. They were collapsing for a while. That was probably going to happen no matter what. Of course, the Switzerland of continents, South America, hasn't changed at all. They are literally just sitting here like trying to make sure no one notices them, which might not be a bad strategy actually. Probably a good idea just to lie low. Oceania definitely never got their independence from the British, but the Philippines are somehow free. How did that happen? United Korea, let's go. And Japan hasn't launched any sort of massive invasion. They have not taken over New Zealand yet? What? Hard to say just by looking at a map, but you know, this world doesn't look too bad. I might regret those words later though. What if the Italians were punished in a similar way Germany was after WW2? So obviously they had a pretty rough time with all these partitions. USSR took East Germany, the British and Americans took the West. There was all like this confusing thing that was going on. And technically it doesn't really seem that far-fetched. Like, why wouldn't we punish them in equal ways? I guess they ended up helping at the very end, switching sides, kinda. So a lot of the valuable northern Italian territories being taken up by the French, Americans, and then Yugoslavia. Big, beautiful Yugoslavian borders. I didn't think those borders could get even more sexy. Brits, of course, were gonna take, what is this, the Vatican? Rome, somewhere right there. They also got another island to add to their collection. And is this just like normal Italy, or is this just Naples now? Why wouldn't the USSR take this? I feel like that's the only fitting thing. Looks like America also got Sicily. Oh, the USSR wouldn't take this though, because they weren't a part of this invasion at all. Well, maybe like 10 years after they would eventually get this. Like they would do some, you know, spying and sabotaging the government from the inside. What if Germany united as a part of the 1848 revolution? That'd be a few decades earlier than they did in our timeline. Big, I don't know if I want to call it sexy, but pretty nice borders. It looks scary because it's reaching all the way down there to Austria. They even have access to the Adriatic Sea. It's a thick Prussia too. So this is just like a less crappy version of the Holy Roman Empire. We've got like double emperors. Yeah, Germany's looking bigger and scarier than ever. Germany's always scary, but this seems even crazier. The American Union for prosperity and peace. This is a future timeline where I believe like the 13 colonies make a comeback with a lot of the Midwest. 2 centuries after the great eruption that destroyed our nations, the people of America are coming together again to okay, so something happened. Some civil conflict broke out, divided up the U.S. I love this art, though. The Carolinas have merged. There's also a state called the Great Lakes. There's New England, which makes things a whole lot easier than saying all the states up there. I don't know what Douglas is, and then just Ohio, because it is all Ohio. Douglas is like this Virginia place. Is it like a Fallout universe? Was there some sort of like nuclear chaos? They even took little bites out of Canada, too. Referendum on the continuity of the CSA, or in other words, no, America. Basically, the South won their independence during the Civil War, but then 100 years later, they're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So there was a referendum held asking if your state should remain a member of the Confederacy or reintegrate with the Union. Overall, the popular vote was 53% to 46%. The only states that chose status quo is Alabama, Mississippi. Georgia was kind of a toss-up. Is that what that's saying? I like how the states that border the Union have a lot more interest in rejoining the Union, especially these northern counties in Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico. New Mexico is super down, 71%. And for some reason, I guess no one is allowed to live in this part of Louisiana. Either that or everybody in this part of Louisiana has been oofed. There literally is no human being there anymore. Well, that doesn't really make much sense, but whatever. I like the maps that like just show election results. Like that's pretty unique. America at its height in 1936. A world where the US says to Mexico and Canada, this continent isn't big enough for the three of us. Maybe they won the War of 1812, kicking out the British, just grabbing up all this stuff for themselves. I like these new states that were created. Well, there's Columbia and then Washington above that, then Jefferson, Lincoln, Manitoba, which is still the same. Then they clearly got into a couple extra fights, or at least a rougher fight with Mexico. Took a lot of the northern Mexican states. They got the Caribbean, and of course we have a little bit of imperialization. Still got the hold over the Philippines, but also we're in Africa now. Did we take this from Germany? I don't know, steal that from them? But we really pushed out Liberia in this world, made that a nice thick colony. New Columbia Overseas Territory. That's a unique name. Never heard that one. This is a really aggressive timeline. We would have had to have been beating a whole lot of people back. Most of these maps are usually just like empires expanding, but I love the weird ones. This is a cruise ship line if I think Hungary was an ocean. Am I getting that correct? This actually was a real thing though. It was a shallow ancient sea somewhere in Central Europe. It was 3 to 4 kilometers deep, and I guess that's where it gets its name from. So look, this could have actually been a thing, and Hungary would basically not be there anymore. I'm about to make just the lamest fucking joke I think I've ever done in my life, but I just have to say it. We'd have to change their name to Thirsty. I just can't. I'm just gonna say that was the stupidest thing I've ever said, like ever, I think. Even I have to admit it, but I could not say it. It wasn't even funny, but I could not get myself to not say it. This would be about 10 million years ago. At least there were like some little like islands that they could have gone and visited. This actually would be a pretty fun cruise thing though. I mean, if this water randomly in the middle of Europe has no other purpose, it'll do good things for tourism. The Caribbean Confederation. Oh, and what is that flag? What are those? Such a cringe. It's like a weird like merging of existing flags. I don't know, I don't like this. But I've always loved the idea of like a Caribbean Confederation, a sort of like maritime sea empire. And they got the whole gang here, at least a lot of the gang, a lot of the islands. I don't think all of them made it though. Took a lot of the coast of northern South America. I like to think that these are just like a pirate type of people. Like all of these people are descendants of pirates. This was like a pirate nation that took over and ended up like really getting into politics and unifying. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, but I would like to believe it happened. What if Japan destroyed Ming in the 17th century? This would be the Japanese in the 1800s though, so they've had time to like put down any revolutions, even expand their borders a bit. So this must be a time period where also Japan has decided to do the whole colonization thing much earlier. They were friends with the Dutch. Maybe the Dutch taught them all about this, or Portugal, I don't know, whichever one. As a Mongolian protectorate, they're also reaching way up there towards Russia. They're getting into Vietnam too. This would be a very scary Japan that would be coming up out of the 19th century. I have a very, very bad feeling about all these states that border them, because I don't think they're going to be independent for much longer. The Tsardom of Greater Bulgaria. I love these maps that aren't like super unrealistic, where they just have like all of Europe under Bulgaria. This seems achievable. Take a bite out of Greece and Turkey. Actually, more than just a bite out of some of those places. Control the Black Sea. The biggest thing they need to do is get after this port city. Bring back Constantinople. About 11 million population, and it is an absolute monarchy. Seems like a pretty rough empire to have to try to defend, though. You're bordering a lot of pretty angry people. I don't think this would fly for very long. West Africa, but it is based off traditional states. Or if the Europeans didn't decide to just draw like random lines, this will be a country, and this will be a country. We have the Kong state, the Ashanti Empire, and my personal favorite, Dahomey. I really need to see that one come back somehow. Canon Bornu up here. I guess we could still make this happen. I mean, I guess if they all wanted this to happen. I don't think Nigeria would be cool with this. I think Nigeria is really enjoying how thick they normally are. A railway map of what would be a greater Netherlands. So the Dutch were like, yeah, I'm tired of these waffle people down here. We're gonna take a lot of that stuff over. This is actually a really intricate map. It goes way deeper than I thought it was. It took my internet browser like a whole minute to load. I love these like metro looking maps. It'd be nice if there was like different colors though. I need more color coordination. So the line goes all the way down to Brussels. But would anyone use this, to be honest? Don't the Dutch really like their bikes? Pretty sure the Dutch would rather like bike for 100 miles than take a train. Maybe this is for like the conquered Belgiums. Maybe just to make them more comfortable. The year is 2030 and the EU has collapsed. Here are the various treaties formed by ex-EU states after the collapse in 2030. We've got got this Central European alliance between the Netherlands, Germany, and Austria. Then we have the old Soviet states getting back together. Gang is back in town. Russia decided they were also going to do a little bit of nostalgic invasions. They took over Ukraine, Belarus, all the Baltic states, just like old times. Finland, better get ready. Northern Europe is, of course, united, but I don't know if that's going to happen for much longer. You're about to lose probably one of those countries pretty soon. Of course, the UK is going to go do their own thing, but they do at least have Ireland on their side, which, is that a united Ireland? Finally, there's whatever this is. Spain, France, Belgium, Italy. Some people have also decided to be independent from it. Portugal hasn't joined anything, and Swiss are doing Swiss things. Yeah, this seems like a bad idea, to be honest. Looks like Russia's going to just roll on over with everyone. Again, maps that aren't super far-fetched. I love this stuff. This is the United Arab Republic. Obviously, they don't have everyone in. I'm sure there might be new members in the future. But to start things off, it is a combined effort between Sudan, Egypt, Libya. We have this part of Yemen. Did Yemen get divided? And then these ones here, we'll see if Arabia ever joins in. Is this like a united country or is this like an EU thing? There's also railroads going through. How would this fit in with like the African Union? I know the African Union is a thing. Did they just decide they're not going to do that whole thing anymore? All right, this looks like a world where England took over France, probably like in the 100 Years' War. And instead of the Tour de France, we have the Tour de Crown, the 105th edition of Tour of the Crown. It is with great pleasure the government of Her Majesty, the Queen, announces the holding of the Tour des Crown. It's a symbol of unity between Great Britain and France. So the race would begin all the way up here in the tippy top part of Northern Ireland. Then it moves on down to Liverpool, get to tour the western part of this country down here, and we pick back up here in southern France, July 3rd through July 5th. This is amazing. This is just stuff you don't think about. I like this stuff. Like, okay, yeah, England took over France. I've never seen that before. But this guy's answering the real questions. Like, what does the biking situation look like in this universe? We go all the way through Paris and then back up to finish the race in London. I actually would want to see this. England, I need you to take over France just so I could see this. You can give it back to him. I just, just do it for a second. 9 Germanys, or like one timeline of history. Maybe this stuff will still happen. If you think about it, there's already been like 9 different types of Germanys. They're constantly switching back and forth. Free German Federation, that is a big Germany. Then there's this German state with the lowlands and a part of France. We got old school, like, well, this is old Imperial Germany, but with Austria. There's the German National Republic, the German Federation with the Dutch. Keeps getting crazier. Oh, the Rhinebund? The Rhinebund, okay. Whoa! Getting a little wild with this one. There's also the German Maritime Republic of Hanover. I never knew I wanted to see this so badly. And then there's just British Germany, like they invading through Denmark or something and taking their own little chunk. I could see all this could have happened. I don't think any of this stuff is like that crazy. We could still make it happen. There's plenty of time. What's Germany doing now? Nothing much. Here's a similar post, except this time we have the 15 Chinas. We have real China, or Republic of China. Oh, I'm gonna be banned from China forever now. There is the Chinese Celestial State, the National Restoration Movement. What is that all about? Another like maritime empire? Great Qing. I don't know, that doesn't look that great, but okay. The Chinese Soviet Republic, the Zhao State, Chinese Pacific. Are we looking at smaller states inside of China? I don't even know sometimes. Here's the Third Republic of China. I don't actually mind this flag. That's not too bad. The Free People's Movement and the Great Ming, or a Northern Australian Chinese Empire. I've never considered anything like that before, so good job. Preservation Committee, another republic. How many Republic of Chinas are we gonna do? Gotta love these weird Yan Empire borders. They had something like this not that long ago. And whatever this is. Again, everything's on the table. It still could happen. We could make it happen, China. Well, actually, maybe China's actually trying to make it happen. If the lowland countries got their way for a post-WW2 Germany, basically Dutch and Belgian annexation of German territory after World War II. I like how this was both the Dutch and Belgium thing to do, but it doesn't look like Belgium is benefiting at all from this. It's literally just going all to the Dutch. But these are pretty great borders. We need another railway map of what this would look like. They go pretty far into those German borders. Man, they were feeling aggressive if they were proposing this. Couldn't have at least made Luxembourg bigger? Like throw them over like a town or two, just to double their population. The Soviet Union and all of their puppets. Sometime in the 80s, they still have Alaska here. It's like the biggest thing that jumps out to me. I always love these Russian map perspectives. The world doesn't even look recognizable. It's a very scary world because they clearly also won in Afghanistan. Of course, they have like all of Europe. Nothing too crazy there. Well, Greece, that's a new one. Dipped in pretty far into the Middle East. They have control over China, and they go all the way down to Vietnam, so I think the US still lost in Nam. That's still the same. They grabbed the northernmost island in Japan. Yeah, I think this is pretty much game over. Let's be real. I don't know how powerful the US can get. Maybe if like Spain, France, and UK let us annex them, but I'm pretty sure this is kind of game over. You make this big old USSR and you let them have full control over China, we're done. A world where Romania Crimea, the Caucasus Mountains, Crimea, and then for some reason this part of Greece, they all form this little thing going on right here. Was this a union that formed and then they became one thing? This is going like deep into the territory too. This is not really just like all coastal. It's not like a Venetian empire. Like, you know, how are you gonna protect some of this stuff? I guess it doesn't matter. The Ottomans fell. Maybe this is like after World War I. I just like how random this is, to be honest. That's one of my favorite things. I don't know why, but here you go. Bonus Brazil states. If Brazil was bigger. Because why not? I guess it's possible, like, if the continent of Africa, when it broke off from South America, if it just like left a bit more land over there. The tectonic plates decided, here you go, Brazil. We want to have a thick Brazil one day. We also want to have a big Gulf of Brazil. Much better than the Gulf of Mexico. Screw that thing. What exactly would this do to the Amazon rainforest, though? That's my question. Is the Amazon rainforest now like 3 times its original size? It's a lot of trees they can chop down. I'm not saying that I want that to happen. That's probably what would happen. I wonder where they got these like random names for. Like, these places don't exist, so where did you come up with the names? There's like a long list that Brazil has of states that they were gonna name like a second or a third best option and then decided, now we're not gonna do this. That'd make this a lot easier. They even like named the cities too. Oh yeah, Rio de Janeiro. So the coastal cities are still there, kind of. This is confusing, but actually way better than I initially thought. This took a lot of work. And big thanks to the July patrons. Abolish Wyoming 2021. Drew's Argentinian grandpa. AryanAfterHours. I'm about a nut. Lol. Yo. LuxembourgLover. Mine Brothers 99X. Drew. Patrick C. Popcorn 2008. Stormtrooper 501. Zeffi. Manny. Kaylee K. EpiNick, Full Elijah Senpai, Alfonso M6, Aaron F, Dalton D,